It's not 5.
We have 6 seconds.
Already 1,000 viewers. That's so weird.
Oh, sorry.
Only if you want that. Dun dun dun. Yep. There we go. Alright, what are you talking about today, Rich?
What am I talking about? I'm going to...
Is this the latest and greatest?
That is going to be something we're going to...
That's from the Moldy
share
Oldie
around,
pile.
yeah.
Although, nothing wrong with Moldy Oldie.
Let me just...
Can't believe you're giving this away today. Man. It's got loaded.
I want to be able to watch your video. Oh no, what's it doing? We are just getting set up, everybody. We're just
technical things, a lot of really important stuff going on here.
Very important.
Very important technical stuff. So I might have to leave your video in the middle, Rich.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I have some very important technical things. I have an appointment that's. But I'll be here. I'll be here for moral support. I know people like to see your hands. You have nice hands.
That's
nice fingernails
yes,
too.
I have.
Yeah, nice hands.
They're getting to be a little old manny kind of.
It happens. It happens.
Well, I can't see the only problem is I'm not going to be able to see the comments for everybody. Everybody, we're doing Ryan is not here in the shop today, so we're going to do kind of a brief overview of our new pad slicks along with our other pad slicks, and we're also going to talk about some pads that we have laid out here. And for those of you who are watching, let's see. Well, Kurt's here too. Kurt's got a thing that he's got to run off to, but
I'm here.
Do you want to watch some comments while we? Because I won't be able to see their comments while we.
Yeah, I'm trying to find this thing live on MusicMedic. I mean, I'm here, so I mean it feels live to me, but for some reason, without seeing it on the screen, I don't really feel that it's live. I'll shut my Wi-Fi off and save.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, here it is. It's live. I see. Okay, cool. Oh, Laurel, Wesley. Wow, Sam. Matt Budd is there too.
Hey, Matt.
All right. All right. So we're using, this is the microphone on your phone. We have microphone problems, and I think we're well aware of it. So how's the sound out there? It's going to be good because you're standing behind it, and I talk like a loud monkey.
Yeah, my voice will probably be clear, and your voice might be less clear. Oh, Eustace is here from South Africa. It's still winter there. Wesley. Laurel.
This is going to be our best one, I think, ever.
Neil. All right.
Yeah. I learned that from Matt Budd. He knows what I mean.
Neil says both voices sound good. So why don't we...
Cool.
I'm going to just move right here. So guys, let's get this sign out of the way.
So we're beginning?
I think we should. We can begin. I'm going to...
Hi, everybody.
There's Kurt's hand. There's my hand.
Also old.
We're going to talk a little bit about... Let me just move my poker chips here. Always keep your chips organized.
You know, we never do that. We never play poker with pads. Oh, we're starting. This isn't just the color commentary stuff. This is the actual start. Okay, let's do this.
You ready? Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody, we are going to just release our custom, super awesome Artisan Pad Slicks on the website today. And I know that in the previous video we were talking about giving a set of these away, and
Whoa.
I am going to keep my promise. We're going to give this exact set away. Rick said I could give this one away.
Loaded with Corona. Rich has been touching them. We're going to wipe them down. Sorry, Rich. We'll wipe them down.
These before we get to these, I wanted to just talk, or before I get to the giveaway. So we're going to talk about these, our other pad slicks. We're going to talk about some pads too, and I'm going to tell you how to win this set of pad slicks later on in the video. So our Artisan Pad Slicks. Curt, I'm just going to describe them really quick.
Yeah, let's hear it, Rich.
These are made of the working piece is made of stainless steel, and we've got an aircraft grade aluminum handle that is also got.
That means if you needed to make an airplane wing, you could actually use this tool.
So if you need,
You
okay,
could make a wing, and then this tool will fly. If shaped correctly, it could fly. Yes,
That's
go ahead.
kind of-
Keep going, Rich. I'm sorry.
are we going to do any other aircrafty kind of like tool? I think we're going to, I like the aircraft tool weight in my hand. Like the aluminum feels good.
Yeah, that's why we have that's why we chose the. It's the same handle that we use on other tools, right? So we have this handle that we like. We like the shape and feel.
I'm just trying to get it to focus on our logo. Well, you guys can see that. We've also got our logo here. So these have got a beveled edge. These have also been tumbled, so there's no sharp edges on any of these pad slicks. And they are well balanced, and they feel amazing in the hands. This is the smallest size. They're very comfortable. I can get, if I have a clarinet here, and I've got this small E pad, that allows me to get up underneath the back of the pad, so I can adjust that. The reason is the workpiece is offset. So here's our traditional pad slick, where you can see the workpiece is kind of in the center of the handle. So we've got the offset here, and you can use either side. So you can come in here and work the back of a pad if you need to. You can use the flat side if you wish. The offset is primarily for clearance around a resonator, so I'll pick up the largest size here. There's the largest size that we have, and here we are on a Wilmington Alto, and I'm just going to bring this right up close.
Can you help you hold that, Rich?
So you can see we can get, I got it,
All right.
right up underneath a pad to the back of the pad, so we can adjust that, and we can get around the resonator as needed. So these are a very simple tool that we know that professional technicians are going to be using at the bench every day, and we wanted to create kind of the next level artisan style tool, and these are it. I also wanted to show you, for those of you who maybe aren't professional repair technicians, some of the where these came from. So we have a couple of other pad slicks that we've had for years and years. This is the traditional one.
I think professional technicians would also like to know where they came from. I mean, I'm a professional technician.
I mean, this one.
I want to hear this.
This one came from the bin in the shipping area, but this is our traditional pad slick. You pick one of these up at repair school, or this takes us back to, I don't know.
It's like a
all the way
knockout
to
from an electrical panel or something. No.
But it's an incredibly versatile tool. Obviously you can adjust pads in any manner that I just described with these. You can iron flute pads. You can use them to adjust the bell keys on a saxophone, the bumpers on bell keys. You can use these to, what else can you use this for?
You can iron pads with it, heat it up if you want, but there's some thinner ones that work good for that too. I think that's pretty. There's probably a million uses for a little flat piece of metal, but this is the traditional what it's been pad slick for years. This one here, and I think this one is one that we more or less brought into the industry. And
I think so too. And there's various forms of these. These, just to give you an idea of price, this set is it's a professional tool. It's probably, I can't remember what we put
Neil
it
says
for.
you can use this one for boot joint screws. So
on a bassoon.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
This is kind of a premium price. I think this is like $1 or $2.
Yeah, they're very inexpensive and very useful. Cool little tool.
So the next level we have of that, Curt, is just our double-sided pad slick, and these also allow you to get up towards the back of a pad and have a more kind of ergonomic feel to them. But what's also cool about these is they, if you're an amateur repairer, these are or a professional, really. These are inexpensive and they can be changed to whatever shape that you want. So there's our regular double-sided pad slick. There's a slightly larger one. We call it the giant double-sided pad slick. And here are some shapes that we've used in the pad room. So we've taken this larger guy here and we've thinned out the tip. We've given it a little contour. And here's the smaller one where I have a couple of, looks like the guys have put shrink tubing on these, and they've given a couple of different profiles for pad tucking. And one of these has the larger side kind of curved, and we've left this side flat. Curt, are either of these tools ones that you've preferred in the past, or because I know this is kind of an evolution from the beginning?
I've used mine isn't here, but it's similar to this one, and it's a little thin right here, you know. I think this is a great tool. I've used this tool for years, and there's nothing wrong with a pad slick, especially as you get to know it and as you get to use it. All these tools are stainless steel, so none of them are going to rust, and they're gonna stay for a long time. You know, the benefit of this one that I see is that offset face, and it's just really comfortable in your hands. It's a lot more respect for a pad slick, which is a tool that you're using in the shop. When you're padding, you're using your torch and your pad slick, most of it, and that can be a large part of an overhaul or a PC work. If you're changing a pad, that pad slick is going to be in your hand all the time. So.
And I think that if I had this in my hand, you know, for hours and hours, I'd be very happy at the end of the day.
It's comfortable.
Yeah,
it's very comfortable, and this one is really has none of that. You know, I mean, it's fine for
it
what
works.
It is. It works, but it's just not something that, I don't know. It's like one of those spoons from the ice cream. You know, it tastes like wood. It's okay. You get the ice cream, but it's not not awesome. Although I do kind of adore the wooden spoons. You know.
So Neil says that the steel, the stainless steel, is great for humid environments. This will hold up to any sort of conditions like that. And we have that here in North Carolina too. And then also, someone said the logo is face up, and that is a testament to Rick in the machine shop being thoughtful about that.
Yep.
All right,
yep.
So
cool.
We're going to talk about some pads really quickly that you can use with all of these pad slicks here, and then at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you how to get this set for free.
That exact set.
This exact set, wipe down and everything.
Unbelievable.
All right, Curt. So I wanted to just briefly talk about this. I got another set of pads here. I get a lot of questions about our tan saxophones and root pads and the different thicknesses and the different uses that we recommend them for. Basically, our tan saxophone pads, we have 3 different styles. We call them the standard soft feel and soft feel thick, and they're all labeled on the back with the cardboard. So there's the soft feel thick, there's the soft feel, and the standard tan just says MusicMedic on the back. They all have the same cardboard, and they all have the same leather. Our leather is finished a little differently than what other pads you may have in your stock. One of the things that makes our leather unique is we finish it a little differently. We have this leather that, all tan leather the leather that we use is lambskin.
Yeah, can I talk about that a little, Rich? Because I spent a lot of time doing this, and so the thing that we did on the leather that's really quite different, and this happened with the tannery, which is in Italy, is all leather for pads is sprayed with basically a paint. Right, and that's a standard thing that happens unless a leather is the natural color, which would basically be like the color of our skin, and it would turn a little whiter. But it's sprayed with a certain, basically a paint. And for pad manufacturers or technicians, what we want is not what other people want. If you make shoes or steering wheel covers or gloves or whatever, you're going to want a leather with a really nice thick grain, right? And you're going to want a leather that, and often you want that leather to be shiny and beautiful so you can shine it up. But that thick grain, of course, is going to cause leaks, and that shiny beautifulness is going to be sticky. And in our industry, what we've done is we've kind of gotten the grain part down, but we never really get the shiny part. So a lot of pads are shiny, and shiny often just means sticky on pads. And what that is, it's not the leather sticking, it's the paint. So what we did is we worked with the tannery, and what they did is they had to mechanically slow down the machine that sprays the surface coat on the leather. And when they slowed it, what we did is we had them slow it down, and then we thinned out the paint with basically like a paint thinner. And what that does is it allows us to spray less paint on the pad and get the same result. So what happens is, instead of spraying paint quick and thick on top of it, we spray the paint thin and slowly, and what happens is it soaks into the pores of the leather, and it gives us that air tightness that we want. But it doesn't all sit on the surface, and we don't have to put as much in to let it soak in. So we have this pad that's still basically airtight, basically watertight, but it has less paint on the surface, and some of that paint has soaked in to kind of go all the way through the leather. And then second, what we did is we have this matte finish, and that's different than most other pads. The big thing when we first started making pads, my goal was we want pads that don't stick. And then when we started to make tan pads, we had some problems with our suppliers, and we had problems with pads sticking. And it wasn't until we started making them that we were really able to supply a leather that or a surface that doesn't stick. So it doesn't mean that these pads never stick, but even no matter what pad you look at of ours, you're going to see they're not shiny. Our pads are our pads are never shiny. If we have to make a replacement pad for someone, they might end up being shiny to be a replacement, but our goal is that the pads don't stick. And the surface and the leather of all of our pads, the standard pads, the soft feel and the soft feel thick, are all the same leather. So we have that same leather that's really designed to not stick.
And then as far as thickness goes, the standard pads are about 4.2 millimeters, and so are the soft feel pads. And then the soft feel thick are about 4.3 to 4.5. So I just wanted to show you some. I also get questions on how to measure a pad thickness. So basically, guys, if you have just a standard caliper like this, I think this is we call it the professional caliper. You're going to take your jaws of your caliper, you're going to put it around the outside leather, and you're just going to place it in there enough so that the pad is not going to fall out when it's clamped in the jaws, but you're not really pressing it down, because I can compress this down to a thickness that isn't its actual tolerance. So I'm just going to place the jaws on the pad kind of snugly, like if you were going to squeeze something, this would be like a 1 out of 10. So this pad is exactly on spec. This is 4.2 millimeters, and that's our just standard pad. And then the soft feel is the same thickness, and then here we have a soft feel thick, and to measure that thickness I'm going to do the same process, and this is a 4.3, and if I go around the pad, we're looking like a solid 4.3, and 0.2 millimeters, or 10 thousandths. This pad's a little thicker on this side. I really don't think, and Curt, maybe you have an opinion about this, but I don't think that 10 thousandths of an inch or 0.2 millimeters, as far as a thickness from one side of the pad to the other, when you're using shellac, is going to be a tolerance that is out of reach or unacceptable for woodwind repair.
I think that making pads perfectly flat and level is very difficult, but I, as a installer, I want my pads to be perfectly flat, and that's what we're going for. Whether you might find a pad that has a variation across it, and we're really trying not to get that. Some of that variation might come from how you're measuring it, but I would say, Rich, you want, if that pad could be mechanically perfectly flat, I mean, that's what we want. And if it's off a little, we don't want it to be. You don't want it to be. So.
And I know that I think it was Lee Kramka when we were at the NAMM show this year. We asked Lee, because Lee's been a long-time customer, and I said, Lee, why do you use our tan pads in your shop? Lee's an excellent technician in San Francisco, and Lee just said, I use your pads because they're perfectly flat, and they're easy to install.
And some of that has to do with the way we're making them and where we're making them and how we're doing it, Rich. I mean, we're making them in small batches. We don't manufacture 5,000 pads at a time. We manufacture a few pads at a time. We make them almost to order. They're really, I guess in a way, they're fresh, and they haven't been put into a bin and piled up and shipped, through customs and that. They're just right from here, and they're not laying in the bottom of a giant bag of similar pads, right? And I think that has a lot to do with how our pads show up nice and flat. Also, the felt we use is a very high quality felt, and all of the materials are high quality, and then it's all made by hand. So yeah, the pads are very flat. When you see MusicMedic pads, that's one thing about them, is that they are very flat.
And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, because the root pads are equally flat, the difference, the question that we get often is, what's the main difference between the tan saxophone pads and the root pads? The main difference is the leather and the finishing of the leather as well. So our kangaroo leather is not tanned or painted; it's dyed. That's right.
Yeah, that's yes.
So the finishing
true.
process
it's not painted at the end like that. In other words, a whole big piece of leather is dyed and then it's skived, whereas a leather like this is skived and then painted, and that's the standard way.
And then I know the other main difference between this kind of species of animal is the way that the cells are aligned. Like the molecular structure, the cells of the skin are aligned a little bit differently.
Want me to tear one of these apart, Rich, and we can compare?
Yeah, so the marsupial has cells that are arranged they run parallel to the surface. So when they're skived, when this leather is skived to make it thinner, there's no sort of rupture of the cells, whereas the pad that you've got, a lambskin has more of a, I don't know how to describe it, like a nest-like or random structure to the cells.
Like can I draw right here?
You gotta draw right there.
So I'm going to try to draw this upside down. I guess I can draw it either way. Like a normal leather has somewhat of a random structure inside, and then when you skive the top part off, you cut many of these. But a kangaroo leather has more of, and some of them are running in this direction, has more of a straight line, right? But some are running in various directions. So from the top down, it would look like this, but they would be this way. And from the top down, this one would look like more like this. And what happens is when you skive this one, you don't cut all of those long cells, which you can see in a way. You can kind of see that, like those are there, right? Yeah. So what happens is this leather. Are we going to do the tug of war, the trade show tug of war?
I think we should show them the difference in strength.
There we go. Here, you want to pull on that, Rich?
Yeah, I think the resulting,
Well, we got a little tear in there, so it's almost not fair, but oh, not bad. Yeah, that wasn't fair. You grabbed it on the tear. I saw that. Let's see. So yeah, we can clearly rip that. We got a strong part. All right. So the leather is still this leather is still strong, right? It's
pretty
not
strong.
Yeah, pretty strong.
But if you grab it at its weak point, you can easily
you can certainly tear it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the kangaroo leather.
Kangaroo leather has.
Here we go. Never fails. You could tow your car with this. Right. So let's tear it. Here.
Can you even tear it?
No, you can't tear it. See? So if you go this way, you can't tear it. It's just ridiculously strong. You can grab it with pliers. It's also has this property where it stretches and has a certain life to it. And that's part of the reason that the kangaroo leather takes such a nice seat is that it has this quality, and other leathers, they just don't have that elastic, or I don't know what you call that, where it stretches and stays, and then you can stretch it in other directions.
Mm-hmm. And so this is gonna, so not only does the kangaroo leather, it doesn't stick, it's a little stronger, so it's gonna hold
it's a
up.
lot stronger, yeah.
It's gonna hold up to like a tone hole that has a burr on it or something.
I've never seen it tear. I've never seen a kangaroo pad that was torn, and now we've been installing them for, how long have we been installing root pads?
20 years?
Wow, we're old, Rich. That's why you have old man hands.
I will say that as a player, you know, I do notice the feel of each of the different colors that we have available when they hit the tone hole. So that's another question that we got is, you know, what is the main difference between these?
A lot of people ask that question. Why have different colors?
And I think that you know, if you're a classical player, and well, just to back up a little bit, the main difference is these white pads are
the color.
The color.
The main difference is the color, right?
Right.
Black and white, far different. Yep.
But the main difference in terms of the different color pads and how they hit the tone hole is that these white pads are a little quieter. So if you're in like I don't know, in a quartet environment and you have to trill like your palm D or something, this pad's not going to, you know, have a lot of pad noise. The black pads have a little more pop to them. I don't feel like these are like a harder pad than the Roo pad, the original Roo pad. And then the chocolate brown pads are kind of a in between. So it's not quite as quiet as the white, not quite as poppy as the black pad, and that's kind of the main difference.
And I, you know,
Wow.
I know that you've played a lot of these, Rich, and I've installed a lot of these, and I'm always people that I talk to are surprised, and I also, when I install them, it's surprising sometimes that the felt in these pads is actually the same. So when you say you don't feel like this is a harder pad, I in a way I disagree.
Really?
When you do a whole horn with the black pads, I feel like it is harder. It's more. It's more poppy in a percussive way, right? And so if you were a classical player and you wanted to trill something that, you know, you didn't want to hear any pad noise, you might have an issue with this. You know, through the years, what I've seen is, I've seen some classical players that thought they wanted the most quiet pad, and then the second time they come back, they decide that they want to switch to the black pad, because they weren't as noisy as, like I said. They have a friend that did them and they thought they weren't as noisy. I've seen a lot of classical players that switched to one of these. This is a pad that's very popular right now, and I think it's because it is an in-between pad. You know, classical players that are also playing gigs out or don't always swab their horn and they want to be able to wipe the horn down or clean the pads. These pads are harder to clean.
Yeah.
And these pads are easier to clean, and these are easier to clean. But a player who wants no sticking and no pad noise, this is your jam right here. This is the pad that's going to work. It's going to be quiet. It's not going to be sticky. Now, because the leather, it's strange that the dye. Let me see if I can find one that really shows it. These have been pressed a little, but it's hard to show it. But maybe these two show it. The leather on the white leather is not as dense as the black leather, and I think it just has to do with the dyeing process. It was a long time ago, it was something we noticed. We made the black pads, and we came out with the black pads because of the feel, not because of the color, and then they have that color. But usually you can see that the white is a little bit thicker. It's quieter, and it's a little bit softer. The black is a little bit thinner, and like you said, Rich, the chocolate is somewhere right in between.
And Eustace is asking, you know, what pad do you recommend for a darker sound on a modern saxophone? He's saying a Yamaha 82Z.
I think a lot of that has to do with your resonator. You know, if you wanted a darker sound, I think any of the root pads are great that way, and on a modern saxophone, I don't know. I'm kind of liking the chocolate pads lately. I'm using the extreme pads and the chocolate extreme pads, but I am liking the chocolate pad because you can clean it, and it is somewhere in between. You know, we haven't talked about stickiness, have we?
In terms of
these pads.
Well, I would say that the white pads are probably the least sticky.
Yeah.
Maybe any pad anywhere, and then I would say that, you know, in terms of stickiness, the black pad is probably the most sticky.
But not as sticky as a tan pad, and these pads are also not sticky, so it's hard to compare it to this. But if you're not using this tan pad, these pads are remarkably not sticky compared to what you're using. Now, what we have seen is pads that get wet and then stay closed. I've seen that where it can be a little sticky after time, you know, like a palm key.
And Neil is asking
or
about
stuck.
Neil is asking about how do you clean the white pads if they get
That's a
dirty.
Good question, Neil. And through all these years and the benefit of having our own pad company, we haven't had to clean them very much. Like, we mostly just change them out. But I can tell you some things that we've done. Do you know they make Architects erasers? And our Architects have some really cool erasers. And one of the things, Architects have this eraser that vibrates, and they'll erase like this, and you can use an Architects eraser on it. Another thing that some people have done is put, and I don't know about this one, but I've seen it done, and it was pretty cool. Like, I saw a dirty pad, and then someone put some shellac on it. I don't remember which type of shellac, and then they peeled it off. I don't think it got very hot, but they put a little warm shellac on there, and then they peeled it right off, and it came off. And some people are using tape. So you put some tape on there, and then
masking tape,
like masking tape, and then you can pull the dirt off. But mostly, we're not worried about cleaning them so much. These pads, these two, you can just wipe down with water. This one you can wipe down with water, but I don't find it to be not very effective. And these pads over time change from white to kind of gray as they get wet. The bell key pads will always be shiny white, but on the top stack, they'll kind of turn gray.
Let's also talk about the Root Pads Extreme.
All right, my favorite.
So the Root Pads Extreme. Now, I didn't have these are some that had some resonators on that I pulled off.
Okay.
The Root Pads Extreme are kind of they're our next level of root pad. These are a hybrid pad, and let me while we're doing this, I'm just going to cut one of these open. These have a
Oh, really? Look at this.
These have a different felt. So here's the felt. This is a woven felt, and for the sake of time, we probably shouldn't go into the technical aspects of how we make this felt, because Curt was telling me about how we make this, and it's amazing.
It's remarkable, and I've been there, and it's wonderful. But okay, I won't talk about it. Fine.
But let's check out a different type of felt that we decided to use in our extreme pads. This is a toleranced synthetic felt that does not care about water. So you can see the felt in our extreme pads is a little different, and this felt is not it's not affected by moisture of any kind, water of any kind. You can dip it in a cup of water and it's going to expand.
It's a thing to say it's not affected, but it's much less than a regular felt. Like it's basically an inert thing sitting there as far as water is concerned. So moisture isn't going to make it swell up like a felt might.
And then this pad is layered a little differently. And now these pads are constructed of, so we have our synthetic felt, we have our cardboard backing, and then one of the aspects of the traditional root pads is that kangaroo leather, because it's not painted, has a little bit of porosity.
Sure.
And so, you know, as a player who's played, you know, these pads forever,
yeah.
I do find that when I get my horn back from these guys, that the horn plays great, and then after I play it for a little while and bring my horn back to them to get a couple of adjustments done, that they play even better. So
yeah.
Something is happening on the surface of the pad as I'm playing it that makes them seal up better. With the extreme pads, when I had these installed, I noticed that my horn played kind of amazing right away, and I feel it's due to the fact that we've got a second layer of lambskin, the sealed leather, laminated to our synthetic felt. Now, as a player, I didn't notice a difference in feel
Okay, yeah.
between this felt and this felt. I did notice a difference in the way that the horn responded. Curt, do you want to talk, when you were talking to me about how the felt is covered by the lambskin and how it works in conjunction with the top layer of the roux leather?
Sure. Let me just tell you what my plan was when I went about with this project. So a normal felt gets wet and it can expand, and then when it dries it can shrink. And so when we found this felt, when we got this felt, that when you wet it, it doesn't expand appreciably, and when it dries, it doesn't shrink from that. So you can wet it and dry, which is what happens in a saxophone. So we went with this felt, but then to cover it with the kangaroo skin, there is a little bit of porosity to kangaroo skin, and that's something that we said let's see if we can get rid of. And I put several materials underneath here, and the one that worked the best is this leather. Plastics didn't work as well. Nothing worked as well that I put underneath here as the leather. And you know, there used to be, Con made some pads, I think back in the day, with lead, and those were cool, and they did a similar thing. Lead might work good, but you know, we might get in trouble. And so what the point here is, if water or air comes through here, it won't change this felt. But then when it hits this leather, it's not going to get through this leather anyway, because this is the normal airtight, watertight leather. You see, this is the same leather that we're using here. So water's not going to get into that felt and change this pad. So this pad is remarkably stable, because once you put it in, it can't change. If I can just keep going down in here, there's this weird mesh layer.
Oh yeah.
So the mesh layer is far underappreciated, but it's super cool.
Gosh, I didn't even see it in there.
If you want to make a saxophone pad or any pad thicker, you need to make something thicker. So if we're dealing with this pad, that's this, and there's a cardboard on the back, and we want to make it thicker, if we make the felt thicker, the whole pad is going to feel softer. And every technician knows that, a big, thick, fluffy pad. And the pad is going to, without some major engineering, if you just make the felt thicker, this pad's going to feel softer. If you make the cardboard thicker, it's going to feel harder, like a clarinet pad. This is going to be really solid, and the whole pad is going to feel harder, and the pad won't have this kind of feel. And the real thing is, as you're installing it, it's going to feel different, and it's going to install differently. So we wanted to overcome that, and the way we overcame it is, you see, this pad is a little thicker than just this felt and this cardboard and the leather. It's this much thicker. So this layer in here, we've tested this with several different layers and how thick we can make it, and we can make this pad quite a bit thicker using this and not change the feel, the overall flexibility, the overall feel of the pad. So like when we're talking about this pad, the extreme pad, it's extreme because it has the kangaroo leather, which is extremely tough. It has this other leather, which is airtight and watertight. It has a felt, which is synthetic and doesn't care about the air and water anyway, if it got in, which is extreme to keep the water off something that is stable anyway. And then as you change thickness, you have this part too. So it's extremely consistent all the way around, and that's kind of how we came up with this extreme pad. And one of the ways that we test is we created a on our leak tester, we can cover up the pad and look at the gauge. And I don't have it here, but what's interesting is this kangaroo leather on top of this leather, when you test how it seals remarkably well, like far better than even just the standard leather. The kangaroo leather on top acts like a gasket between the two and causes a really great seal. So that's why we like the extreme pads. I think since I'm talking about this, I should mention something about installing it, right, Rich?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
So installing this pad is not exactly like this pad, a roux pad. When you bend a piece of felt, it has this desire to it wants to go back. It wants to go back, but the nice thing about felt is that it doesn't go back. It kind of lives where you put it. And this stuff here, it doesn't really have that same property. It's more rubbery, and you know the cardboard wants to live where I put it, but you can see that the felt is overcoming it. It's not rubber, but it wants to go back. So if you're coming in and installing and you're poking at the pad and you're trying to pull one side down and you're trying to distort this pad a little bit, with a regular pad, it's not the best, but you can get away with it. When you install an extreme pad, you really want to think about installing this whole pad as a plane. You want to get your pad slick on there, and you want to push this whole pad as a plane. You really kind of working down one side if you have a tendency to do that, or if it was heavy in the back and you just wanted to like push the back down that way. It's going to be a little weird because you're going to push the back down and the front's going to pop up. So if you work it from the middle and you just work the whole plane, you'll have a lot more luck with this. The great thing about this is once it's installed, it just stays. It's remarkably stable, and I think you've experienced that on your horn, Rich.
Yeah, that's right. I once I've got like the bugs, worked out of it. It was like a couple of years of just regular playing before I was like, okay, it's time. Low keys don't speak anymore. It's I've got issues with my regulation. It's time to get some adjustments. Eustace is asking, does this pad take an impression?
Yeah, it takes an impression. The felt underneath doesn't take as deep an impression as a regular felt. But the two leathers take an impression, and it takes an impression. But you don't want to clamp this shut. You don't want to clamp this down and like key clamps and that with the extreme pads. I wouldn't even mess with it, because all you're going to do if you use key clamps or you clamp tight, with this pad, somehow you're putting an indentation in the felt, and that's kind of, I guess, and if you think that's a benefit, that's the benefit you're getting. But if you do that on the extreme pad, you're not going to put an indentation on this felt, and so all your indentation is going to come from the leather, and it's only that thick. I mean, you're not, you don't really want to bottom that out. So it will take an impression. It will take a seat. The seat will take up for some minor inconsistencies in the tone holes, but I would spend more time getting the inconsistencies out of the tone hole. Fix that tone hole, get everything level this pad like a whole flat surface, and you'll have good luck with it.
So leveling the extreme pad as a whole plane.
As a whole plane, yeah. I mean, every pad can be done that way and should be done that way, and that's why we work so hard to keep our pads flat, so it can be done that way. Over the years, technicians, it appears that we've gotten better and better at making things flat, true, and level, and the pads have kind of followed suit. So this is just the sort of the next level of that. Tyler's asking about
Delrin backing versus a cardboard backing. He said that a lot of flute pads use a Delrin.
Yeah, we're in the process of messing with that. We have some harder backings on the pads, and then you really have to level this thing as a flat plane, right? We haven't done the extreme pad with that hard backing. There's other materials that might be more appropriate than Delrin, but yeah, that's a reasonable idea to have a Delrin in there, and it's even possibly reasonable to put the Delrin somewhere in the layers that's not the backing. Yeah.
Oh. And Chad says he likes the extremes better than standard root pads. Awesome.
Yeah, me too. We like the extreme pads better than the standard root pads too. We're sold on them.
They're still great though.
The root pads are great. I'm not putting the root pads down, but everything has a benefit, and it's not the installation time on the extreme pads that's the great thing. What it is the longevity of the pad and the way it plays, and it seals up and it responds quickly.
Agreed. Cool.
So you were going to give...
Well, Curt, I was going to give this set away, and I was going to give it away to the first person who ordered it, and that person is Joe Stroll. And so, Joe, you have just won this exact set.
How did you know he ordered one?
He just said he ordered it. He just said, I just ordered the first set, and so that was going to be my little...
Well, you don't know that. What if someone else ordered it but didn't say?
Oh
my goodness.
Well, Joe,
if someone else ordered it, Joe gets one free too. You can't say it and then take it back. I mean, if Joe's the first, he gets it, but if he's not, he gets it.
Okay.
Okay. I mean,
Deal.
I'm, you know, I work here too.
whoever orders first is going to get a set of our new pad slicks for free, as well as Joe Stroll, because he's been talking about it for 2 weeks now. And then if you are orderer number 3, I love how this is like home shopping network. If you are the third person to order these, you're going to get a MusicMedic t-shirt, which is also, they're pretty nice.
The third person. Okay. Yep.
So 2 sets for free.
Maybe one. If Joe is the first.
Oh, if Joe's
he
the
gets
first.
the free one. We're gonna make we'll have a spreadsheet for you, Rich.
Okay.
Now you'll understand this. It'll be highlighted with pie charts.
Good. No, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm getting kind of hungry. So. All right, everybody.
Awesome.
Thank you for watching, and thanks, Curt, for being here. And congratulations to Joel, or is it Joe or Joel? I can't remember. It's Joe Stroll, and I always think it's Joel. Yeah, thanks to Joe. I hope you're doing well down in Texas, man. And we're going to get you guys one of these, and the next person to order it's going to get a t-shirt, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Rich.
Until next time.